Okay, so welcome. Today we're going to chat to Giulio Toscani, who is a good friend of ours and somebody that we met a long time ago, I think. In fact,
you met a very long time ago.
Yeah, I think actually next month it's sort of like 15.
Wow.
15 years.
Yeah.
15. In fact, one of the first people I met before I even moved to Barcelona. So, yeah, it's a while ago now. But
Yes.
So welcome, Giulio.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Well, it's lovely to have you. And one of the reasons we wanted to speak to you today is because you're doing some really interesting things around the world with AI. And AI, I think, at the moment is sort of topical, but people don't really understand it still. So, but let's start first a little bit before. How about you introduce yourself about what you do? I mean, you're an expert on big data, artificial intelligence, and strategic leadership, based in Barcelona, but travel all around the world. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so yes, I'm based in Barcelona, and I'm a full-time professor in Lima in Peru. So I have to spend every year about 6 months there. And then I am also lucky enough to teach in Tokyo, in Nagoya, which is also in Japan, in Moscow, and in Tehran. And I always teach these 3 subjects that you just mentioned.
That's amazing. It's amazing. But artificial intelligence is sort of a new part of your qualifications or your
Yes.
I suppose passion. What pushed you into that space?
Yeah, so my father was a IBM engineer, and so I was the first person who had the Macintosh in Italy in 1984. So I already did my video games when I was 10 years old. Then I changed, fortunately, and I got a better, healthier lifestyle. But still, that interesting part stayed with me, and it came out back when I was in Telefonica, where I met Carl Martigas, who is now the Secretary of Artificial Intelligence for the new government in Spain. And she introduced me in big data and artificial intelligence. And I found it fascinating. And then I started meeting lots of interesting people. I did my own geo-tracking project there. And so I started realizing that this was something interesting.
Yeah, and certainly the way we're going right now, I mean, obviously the world's changing at a rapid pace right at this minute. And I suppose I know that you travel a lot, as you just said, going to different universities and different businesses around the world and bringing them up to date with this sort of technology. But do you think that it's being fast-tracked right now? Do you think that with what's going on with COVID-19 and how businesses having to adapt online, do you think that this is actually making it even quicker for us to adapt to and to take this up?
Yeah, of course, we all have seen what we are doing just now. It's something that most of the people just didn't do it for so many years, and they tried to the smart working. So this is probably the biggest example, but it doesn't mean that everything is going as fast as we had to adapt to smart working and working on Zoom or Teams, because there are so many other elements which just stayed as they were before. And unfortunately, so many people are now struggling in finding a new way of doing business, because if you can, like what you are doing now, start getting online, start rechanging the business model, but that requires lots of entrepreneurship and lots of skills. So what is happening now is 2 kinds of dimensions. You have the dimensions of the super fast, the Google, the people who are just now, they set up Babylon, which is a telemedicine business in UK. And of course, they are growing super fast because everyone now was just to be visited online, doesn't want to go to any hospital or to any doctor. So this is their chance. Zoom is, of course, has boomed, but there are so many other businesses which instead don't know how they will survive. Now in Spain, we have this, I think yesterday started the new sales, and there are all these small shops that have to sell online, but they cannot do it because they never did any platform. And there is still not a shared platform to sell online for those who are not based on Amazon, already had this kind of services set before. So what is happening now with artificial intelligence and actually with technology? Artificial intelligence sounds very cool, but it's a hype. Now, artificial intelligence still represents a very, very small part of the real business. When we talk about what is happening now, we have to talk about a digital strategy, connected strategy. This is what we have to do. It's about getting to the customer and is not about discovering something new. This is the key point. It's about just better serve the customer by just based on what you already know about the customer. It's not to discover anything new about what you already know, but you can serve better by having the data, by giving a customized service. And this is the real change. And within this change, artificial intelligence can give you an edge and make some of these small processes faster. But the big change is about strategy. It's not about technology. It's never about technology. There's always strategy first.
That's really great advice, because I think one of the things that we're seeing with our community, not just with us ourselves in our business and having to fast track our online processes, which we had started doing, but we've all of a sudden just had a big kick up the bottom to do it really much quicker. But just talking to or speaking to our community with the other entrepreneurs that are part of who we service and care for, they're really challenged by this adaptation, especially in service industries like hospitality and again even in our own industry of health and wellness or beauty or any of these sorts of service industries. I think it's a really challenging time for people to try to get their head around as an entrepreneur what it is that they're supposed to be doing, because it's not been something that's been put into the, as you say, strategic strategy of how their business should be running.
Yeah, I mean, you are an experienced entrepreneur, and you know how many phases there are when you start having your own idea until you implement and the business starts running. So if you consider how complicated this is already in the real world, when you connect with the digital elements, and so that you have to, every single move, every single transaction, you have to put in the middle a digital element, a digital architecture, or a connecting technology. But that's what really now artificial intelligence within this digital strategy can allow to do, because then you start establishing relationship, and now relationships are online. As you say, we are really fast tracked, but is happening everything online. So this is a good chance, because if you use the right online tool, you can get to your customer and building this relationship so that you don't have to fight for each transaction. So the relationship helps you to go smoothly, and that's the key point. And artificial intelligence can give an edge on this.
No, that's actually the truth, because I know for us, we started this journey 2 years ago. And we were, I suppose, in some ways fortunate to have already gone through those phases with a good strategy team, with a good digital strategy team, which we're incredibly grateful for. But then having that in place when the lockdown started gave us an ability to adapt quickly and pivot quickly. But I think right now, I really like the advice that you're giving, because I think that this is what small businesses, especially in this country and I suppose around the world, need to hear right now, is that it isn't high tech. It's not, you don't have to feel out of your depth. You just really need to find the right people to give you the advice, to get the right platforms and the right I suppose programs or whatever it is that you need, and the interfaces that you need to actually interface with your clients, rather than doing it face to face.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about how almost everything now, all the data are public. You know what people have been buying more, what people have been purchasing less. You kind of know what people's behavior at the macro level is going on now. So everyone knows it. It's kind of public. You just go to Twitter, LinkedIn, in the newspaper, and the magazine, The Economist. You will find all this information.
Yeah.
Then this allows you to say, okay, what can I do? There is a need of the customer. How can I recognize this need? How can I reframe my business, and how I can respond to this? But as you know, as an entrepreneur, the main point is after you've done all this, you start again. And that's the key point with digital, because digital is not just once. You can repeat and repeat this process, and the iteration is what gives you an edge. Because actually what you have to do is to make a customer relationship a duplicate of the customer relationship for each of your customers. That's what digital strategy allows you to do.
Yeah.
Normally, this is the only thing that can give you an edge with your competitors, because a product can be replicated, but not the relationship with the customer. And that's what you can do.
No, that's very true. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and that was one of the things that they were also coming across as well, is that really the most important thing is to nurture those relationships with your customers that you already have. You know, you don't have to work for that. It's there. You just need to reiterate it and bring it back into your community again, and make sure that you know what it is that they want. And if you can actually then work out how to deliver that, whether it be online or in a different way, so that you can actually retain that relationship, that's the crux of what we need to do.
Yeah, the big challenge is that you have so many information now, because then you work at the digital level. And as you know, there are thousands of millions of digital options that you can do. That depends on the platform, depends on the sensor, depends on the business you are. Then once you more or less identify the technology that you can be useful for you, then you have to find the monetization process. And the monetization process can be like charging a bit every month, a bit every operation. Can be don't charge at all, but then sell a product because people come to your business and is about product as a service, like the Nespresso one. So it depends is what kind of model monetization I have. And once you've done it, there is still another level, because then at this you have to maintain this, and you have to make sure that once you have got the customer, you can retain it. And then it's another architecture, technological architecture that you have to maintain, build, and then maintain.
Absolutely. Yeah, we know all about it right now. Yeah, well, it's interesting for us in 10 weeks, you know, how... Sorry?
What we've learned in 10 weeks.
Yeah, and how quickly we've also had to rechange that model or renovate that model, because, you know, what we're finding also is that a lot of people are not tech savvy or wanting to be really tech savvy, especially in our community. We have a really amazing group of human beings who really aren't interested, but they still want to have a connection with us. So it's finding an interface then with them that they feel comfortable with. And certainly one of the things that we're being challenged with is Facebook, because it seems like there's a big rebellion against these sorts of big conglomerates at the moment. Are you finding that as well? Are you finding that there's sort of a pushback against this?
Yeah, so this is mainly anecdotal, because it's just one example. But just today, a friend of mine sent me a survey, because they wanted to start a project on selling a specific product, but based on the neighborhood distance, so on proximity. So all these things about not working in the mall and not buying online, and instead, of course, it's comfortable, it's practical, but you don't have to buy everything just online. Or you can buy online, but in the closer shop. So I think there was the beginning before someone took advantage, like Amazon, but now this can be like democratized, and that's the next step, where everyone maybe can have access to a kind of online purchase. But anyway, the mix is always on and offline, because people want to have a real relationship. Yeah. And even if now the sales in Amazon have, boosted, then people realize that they want a real one. So the real model is something that allows you to mix this kind of practicality, to remove the friction, to remove the pain. So that's digital, helps a lot. But then to enjoy the one-to-one relationship, the personalized relationship, which has to have a physical element.
Yeah.
And then we get into another dimension, which is probably the last one, which is the ecosystem. Maybe you have to ally with someone else. Maybe your business can have someone else who's taking advantage of this. It's not about just digital suppliers like the telco application or the person who's giving you the platform, but can be someone who's within close to your business, like selling a product related to your business, is giving a service related to your business. And by all this ecosystem, who else is benefiting from your business? Yeah. And then you start expanding and giving better things to their customers.
No, I think that's really sound advice, don't you? I think
absolutely.
Right now, I think that's definitely and I think it's also a new way to build community and network and actually create that sustainable business model that we're really sort of has been tossed in the air right now, and everyone's like, oh my God, like how do I do this? But I think that starts to come around, and certainly that's what we've also experienced in the last couple of months as well. And the other thing I want to talk about, because I know that this is interesting as well, but like one of the things that I like about you is that you're very committed to your health, and one of the things that we're doing on this community is talking about how people stay healthy, especially people who are focused with at the moment, because a lot of people are saying they're just digitally overloaded. It's like it's too much for them. So I know that you're an avid cyclist. I know you've actually cycled many hours around the world by yourself, which I found quite amazing. And you're also an ultra trail runner, and you practice yoga and meditation. So tell me how these things integrate into your life to give you a balance, because I find it very interesting.
Yeah. So what is interesting that all these things which you forget, and another one which is playing the side flute. All these things are connected. Are connected with.
How could I forget that?
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny because all activities I do are strongly related to the way I breathe, and it's about a wind instrument, it's about long running, it's about cycling, it's about yoga and meditation. So all these things have to do about it. And also my job is about teaching. You need to talk a lot, so you need to breathe. So how do I do this kind of things? It has been very, very helpful, because some of them are really extreme and are really time and energy consuming and kind of risky. Like last year, I just did the half of the Black Sea by myself with a bicycle, and 2 years ago I went to Mongolia. But what I do daily is kind of simpler, but still has a very important thing. Since the lockdown started, I was offering yoga classes for free to all my friends. So it was also for me an obligation to do yoga. And yesterday we counted that we did non-stop since the 16th of March, 64 yoga classes every single day of 1 hour. And that for me became a kind of habit, because in my life, I've been doing yoga for 10 years now, and I never experienced such a constant discipline. And now I can see that for the first time, my body is changing, because even if I've been doing yoga all my life, for 10 years, especially much more intensively, I've been doing stretching and this all my life, but now I've been reaching a different level. So this habit helped me a lot to stay healthy in the lockdown, not to overeat, not to drink alcohol, and a bit of meditation. And at the end of the yoga, what I do to relax people, I mean, it's a free class, so I don't know if it really relaxes them. They will never tell me because it's for free.
You cook the pasta.
Yeah, I should ask that. So I don't know if they do it because of commitment, but then I play the flute, and this was also other things. I never played the flute every day. I played sometimes. So this was another element that gave me an edge and gave me some consistency in the practice.
That's amazing. I think that's a great example for people, because it is one of the challenges, and this is one of the things that we've been helping with people as well, is having that interconnection every day of like, okay, here's your Pilates, or here's your stretch routine, or here's whatever it is that you need today. Let's do it, and let's be disciplined together as a community to do this. And I think it's really important to get into those habits, because I think especially for us in Spain, being in lockdown for such a long time, most people are not used to working at home. So they're out at they normally get up, they have their routine, they get the children off to school, or they go and have their coffee, then they go to work, then they do, they have this pattern, and having that pattern broken really sends people into a sort of chaos where they just will work for 12 hours at the computer, because they don't have this sort of the circuit breakers of what normally happens throughout a day. Yeah. So I think creating those new patterns with healthy lifestyle choices, whether it be playing a musical instrument or going for a run. We've got a client who actually is doing like 100 laps of her terrace every day just to actually keep up her fitness level. But I think they're really important, and I thought you're an amazing example of that, because I've always admired your discipline, especially when it comes to the things that you're passionate about. And I think that it also comes through with everything else that you do in your life. So
yeah. It's interesting also because it's a kind of minimalistic lifestyle. Because at the end now, everyone somehow, they were always laughing at me because I do this Vipassana retreat, 10 days of silence, and yoga. I mainly do sports who don't require any kind of gears, maybe a pair of running shoes. All the rest is just your body. And now that it came handy because you have so many limitations, and this was very great because you just needed your body to stay home, and you didn't really need anything else than just a square meter to do your own exercise. And that was incredible. And now we are entering into a new phase because bicycle will become something very, very useful. And this is new. So before, it was kind of like alternative way of going around, but now it's the only one. If you don't have a car and you don't want to take public transport, you have to go by bicycle. So you will see now, there was an article in the New York Times yesterday saying buying a bicycle now is going to be difficult and expensive because everyone wants a bike now.
Yeah, it's going to change how our cities work as well, isn't it? It's really going to modify our way of living, and I think that's what we're all going through right now, not just on a business level, but also a personal level, physical level, and obviously environmentally as well. So, well, it's been wonderful to talk to you. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, Giulio, or maybe for a yoga class, but more specifically, because I know that you speak to, you consult to businesses, so if anyone's interested in chatting to you, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
It's mainly LinkedIn. If you write Giulio Toscani, which is normally everyone spell it wrongly, but if you just check in the Italian dictionary, you will see how Giulio can be properly written, and Toscani is like Toscana, and with the I instead of an A at the end. You'll find me on LinkedIn. That's very active there. Write me a specific message on LinkedIn, because if I just send me a link just to be connected, I don't accept people I don't know. So you have to explain why the connection. Or Twitter is
we're a closed group, so I'm going to put you up, but I'll put it on. I'll put your name on there so they'll know how to get in touch with LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to speak.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And good luck with your project. It's a great idea. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye bye.